Welcome to this flip video on production. So what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to take you through production in the short run into the long run while relating that to the nature of costs for a firm, so how those costs change as output increases. So what we're going to do is, it's going to be quite a long video, so I'm going to break it up into parts. So this will be part one. So it's important you watch each part in sequence so you therefore get the whole picture. So part one is going to be all about short run production theory, okay? And the first thing to deal with is, what is the short run? So the short run is where at least one factor remains fixed in our production process. And I'm going to explain that as we go along, okay, in context. So let's start off where the theory comes from. It's Adam Smith's theory, okay? It's his theory of increasing and decreasing marginal returns, and that's part of what we're going to explain. So he based his theory on, when he studied his theory, he researched it on a pin factory. Okay, so we're going to use that context to explain, the production of pins. Fascinating context, but it should get the point across. So imagine you've got a pin factory and you're starting off your factory and you've got one piece of machinery in that factory for making pins. And that's going to be our fixed factor, our little pin machine here, okay? And what we're going to have as our variable factors, to make it nice and simple, is our workers. They're going to be our inputs, our variable inputs. Okay, so you start off, you've got one worker who goes to make pins at that piece of machinery, and that worker produces a total of 3 pins. So here you've got 3 pins produced, so a total product of 3 pins, and that means that worker has added 3 pins to the production. So you've gone from 0 to 3. So that means you've added 3 pins, so that's a marginal product of 3. Marginal meaning additional, so the additional output is 3. I should add at this point, it doesn't have to be marginal product. I could say marginal output or marginal returns. You might see that in your textbooks. So that could be an O or an R, and same there and same there. But I'm going to use P for product, okay, in this context. You've added 3, first worker produces 3, so therefore you've got a total of 3. Now, what then happens when you add a second worker? So a second worker comes and works with the first worker at that fixed factor, that machinery. So we can't change the number of machines we've got, we can change the workers. Okay? So what then happens is our production jumps. It jumps from 3 to 9. So the second worker, the addition of the second worker means that we've added an additional 6 pins. You'd expect that the second worker should be just like the first and only add 3, but they've added 6. So the marginal product is 6. That's what the second worker has added. Now, why have they done that? There's no difference between the first and the second worker. They're homogeneous, they're exactly the same. There could be clones of one another. And the difference is, what's happened is specialization. And specialization is where you've taken the production process, of making a pin, and you've broken it up into individual tasks, and now you've got more than one worker, you can specialize in different tasks and become more productive. And you should have studied that in earlier videos. And that means you're getting better utilisation of that fixed factor. So specialisation, division of labour, and better utilisation of that fixed factor means that the marginal product goes from 3 to 6 and the total product jumps to 9. So what then happens when you add a third worker? Well, you then jump from 9 to 18 in this example. So we've added an additional 9, so a marginal product of 9, so we've now got that marginal product there, because we've got increased amount of specialisation. We've got even more specialisation and even better utilisation of that fixed factor. Okay, and that theory, that basically is what is increasing marginal returns. So increasing marginal returns is where you add more of a variable input to a fixed factor, you get an increasing marginal product or marginal return. Okay, and that's demonstrated on this diagram here. So as I add more variable inputs to workers on here, I should get greater levels of marginal product. So, and that's increasing marginal return. So that point along here relates to this point here. So as I add my first worker, my second worker, okay, my third worker, okay, my marginal product is going up, okay, higher and higher, okay. So we move on from that. I'm just going to put my third worker up at the top there, about 9 there. Okay. So then how does that affect the average product? How much each worker produces on average? Because that's what we're really interested in here. So if you look at it, the first worker produces a total of 3. That's divide the total by the number of workers, that's 3. now you've got a total product of 9, now you've got 2 workers, divide 9 by 2 gives you 4.5. And then 3 workers, you get a total of 18, divide 18 by 3, you get 6. So what you have here, as the marginal product goes up, so does the average product. Okay, so we've got an ever increasing average product. Okay, so each worker is becoming more productive because of that better utilisation, that specialisation. But eventually, that will have to change. That can't keep going with this fixed factor. So when we add our 4th worker, our fixed factor starts to get overutilised, overcrowded. Okay, and the specialisation advantages have kind of been all used up. So we go from a total product of 18 to 22. So the 4th worker is still adding. Okay, they've added 4 this time. Okay, but the actual, you can see we now drop from a marginal product of 9 to a marginal product of 4. Okay, and then we add the 5th worker, and they, again, because it's overcrowded, again, overutilised fixed factor. We've got 1 fixed factor, okay, it's fixed, we're not going to add any more of that machinery, but we can add more workers. The total product still goes up, so we're still adding to that total product, but we're only going to add 3 to that, okay? So therefore, what you should see is that the marginal product is now fallen to 3. So you've actually got the marginal product starting to come back down again, okay, on the graph. Okay, as we add the 4th worker, it's the amount we're adding to the total output is coming down, and that is our decreasing marginal returns, and that's demonstrated on the diagram here. So how's that going to affect the average product per worker? That's going to mean that our average should start to fall. If each worker is adding less to the total, we've got more workers, it should start to fall. So our total is 22, divided by 4 should give us 5.5. Okay, 5th worker, 25 divided by 5 is now only going to give us 5. So that is dropping. So how productive each worker is now dropping because they're overcrowded. Okay, and therefore the average product starts to come down because the marginal product is coming down. So initially the marginal product drags the average product up, and then it drags it down, become less productive. And the optimal is where you've got the highest average product, okay, at that point there. And the next video we're going to relate that to costs, okay? But it's also worth considering how total product behaves on a graph as we increase the output. So what you will see, okay, if I find a space to fit that in, okay, is that as we add more workers, your total product will increase at, quite a steep rate because we're jumping from 3, 9, 18, okay? So that where it's steep, we're getting increasing marginal returns. But what happens is that steepness starts to slope off because we're still going up, total product is still rising, still getting higher, okay? But it will be getting higher at a decreasing rate, and therefore this starts to slope off. So it's still going up, but it's going up at a much more shallow angle because we're not adding so much so quickly, okay? And therefore that's kind of decreasing marginal returns coming into effect. So as we add more inputs, okay, the product, and this line is total product, starts to go up at a decreasing rate. Okay, and that is short run production theory.